Good morning. It is still raining in LA. Thank goodness. Actually, it's been raining for a couple days. LA kind of shuts down in the rain. It's our version of a snowstorm, apparently. But obviously with the fires, we've needed it, so it's been a blessing. Growing up, they always say, oh, you want to save it for a rainy day, save it for a rainy day. But at some point, when you become an adult, the rainy day fund turns into what's called an emergency fund. With an emergency fund, you're supposed to have, it depends, people say 3 to 6 months of your expenses in case of an emergency, or, typically that might mean you lose your job or you're unable to go to work. I always struggle to maintain that balance because when I have that much money in my account, I get very antsy. I have it in a high yield savings account, but that's gone from 5%, it's down to 3.8 right now because it's tied to whatever the Fed is doing. So it's not even really that appealing, and saving money can be boring. So I tend to take that money and then I'll buy a house. I'm actually in escrow right now on house number 4, but I'll talk about when I get farther because I've already had so many houses that I go in escrow and then nothing happens or there's title issues. And so, I'll talk about that later. But again, I had a little nest egg and I'm just like, man, I could buy a house for 30 grand. And if I pay for it all cash, that means I don't have a private money loan. And then I'm getting $700 a month immediately in cash flow. So I could just save that money again really quickly. So it's kind of this struggle. I go back and forth, but I don't really think there's a bad decision because ultimately, if you have monthly cash flow coming in, that's coming in while you're sleeping, I call it mailbox money, then it doesn't really matter if you don't have a huge emergency fund. Anyway, I don't really know where I was going with that story, but you should have an emergency fund or a rainy day fund. And if you don't, then you better have some mailbox money coming in because you never know when a catastrophe is around the corner.